don't they become more important for you?
You'll be very surprised. I have not seen two cities that are the same.
Okay.
It's unbelievably a fragmented environment, but beautiful because of the diversity of it.
Okay.
I love what I do, don't get me wrong. I get to meet and I get to travel like crazy, but I really enjoy it. I go to Germany, we talk about the refugee situation. I go to Australia, we talk about the death of the auto industry. You know, but the important client is not always the same. Sometimes if we're talking about a transportation project in some of the cities, this is a federal budget. So we need to be getting federal approval. Then the prime minister and his staff become important. In other cities, the cities are very autonomous. Or the regions and states are very autonomous. So it differs a lot.
So let's project ourselves, say, 15 years from today. Imagine that today is 2030. What is an average successful smart city in your view? What are we going to be seeing? Because we'll all be there in 2030.
I'm very biased.
Okay.
I love Dubai.
Yes.
I've been living here 21 years, and there is no other place I would want to live in the world. Dubai's Sheikh Mohammed, His Highness, he said smart Dubai is going to be about happy people.
Correct,
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing I said, it's about the people.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what you implement in it. I think the smartest city is the city where we'll have the happiest citizens living there.
Okay.
Now, how do you measure happiness? That's a complicated story, but I think in general, people have to enjoy the low crime rates. People have to enjoy the public transport, the good health services, the good education available for their children, and so on.
So what are the big innovations that we'd like to see in the next 5 to 10 years to give us that happiness that you're talking about? Because are we living in a happy environment today? I'm not just talking Dubai, I'm talking about smart cities in general. I mean, some of the cities that when I was doing my research, Kansas City in the United States, you have Barcelona, Hamburg, Adelaide, Bangalore, Dubai. These are amongst the top league.
Yes.
What makes them higher than the rest, and how can they remain happy?
In every industry, in every business, you usually have the leaders and then the mass and the laggards. And I think these leaders came early.
Okay.
And they came with a strong vision about taking the leap of faith. And I think that's mainly it. By the way, the developments and progress varies a lot between these cities. Dubai is very, very advanced. When Sheikh Mohammed His Highness announced the Dubai Smart City, I said Dubai is already smart, in my opinion. Look at the infrastructure, look at the airports, look at the roads, look at the metro. I mean, we all live here, we all understand. So I believe Dubai is definitely well ahead in many of these areas. But as far as future innovation, I go back to your point. I think the world of healthcare is going to see 20 years that we haven't seen before. And the reason is, if you look at the data of the world, people are living longer. 60 is the new 40, right? Everybody says that. Okay, so 80 would be the new 60, and 100 would be the new 80.
Yes.
So people will live longer, but they want to live a better quality of life. They don't want to live in hospitals. So healthcare will be transformed, in my opinion.
Okay. So let's just transport it into our lives. There are lots and lots of SMEs here. How will young companies, what do they need to do to tap into this ecosystem that you are building? How do they engage? I mean, they run retail shops and cement companies and banks and financial institutions and real estate stuff. They're doing these disparate jobs. How do they tap in?
Last week, I was in Australia. I went to Sydney, Newcastle, and Adelaide. We have a very big project in Adelaide to replace 55,000 auto industry jobs. And the example I want to give is in Newcastle. Newcastle is a very small city, 170,000 people, but it has a port that ships the largest number or the largest amount of coal worldwide. In Newcastle, they have a very visionary leader that wants to implement a lot of smart technology to create, interest in the city, to attract young population back in. And he tells me, so can we get an application developer company that to do the lighting for us, and another company do the parking for us, and another company. I said, I'll help you with all of this, but I assure you, in 5 years from now, all of these companies will be local Newcastle companies born here. The point I'm trying to make is, as you create this smart city infrastructure and platform, and you share the data, you will encourage a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of startup, leveraging this data to create the services that we now see from Google Maps, from Waze, from other places. You will have local companies because they have access to the data. They'll do it a lot cheaper, a lot faster, and will be tailored for this environment. So I think Dubai is creating that platform. The data will be shared with the developing community. And then the other thing is, look for companies like Cisco, where you have relevant intellectual property that adds value to our business, and we will incorporate you in our ecosystem.
There you go. You're not doing your job. All right.
Maybe somebody's not doing
Somebody's doing their job. All right. So you're non-technical organizations, but all of them are going to be integrated within your technology grid, won't they? In some way, shape, or form, they are affected by it.
Allow me to also defer, because we are a commercial organization with limited resources. It's not...
Only $58 billion of limited resources. Thank you very much.
Only $58 billion.
Okay. Don't forget data like that.
When you approach Cisco with intent to work with them, you also have to think of what Cisco will ask back for.
Sure.
What's in it for me? Be ready for that question.
So let me...
I get approached a lot.
Sure.
People are not ready for the question.
So let me put it in a different way. What do they need to do? Maybe it's education. Maybe it's looking towards the technology space. What do they need to do in terms of being ready for the future? Because with smart cities, with augmented reality, with virtual reality, with Moore's law moving as fast as it is, how do they remain engaged? What are your thoughts on that? Is it education?
I mean, being educated is always important for anything you do in your life. So that's, I think it's not, I think that's a constant. I think being ready for change, if you look at the companies like Kodak, I mean, you've studied all these case studies, so I'm not going to repeat them. Everybody here has studied Kodak at a certain point of their career, but be ready to cannibalize your own business. That's the only way to survive.
Yeah.
That's a very painful, there's another painful way of saying it, and excuse me if I don't want to offend anybody, but be ready to eat your own children. Correct. That's how we do it internally. Yeah. We create business and we shut it down, because the next one will come and succeed. And I can't create a new business if I can't kill the old one. So that's very, very difficult to do. I'll give you many examples. Today, if I manufacture computers, do I want people to go on the cloud? No, because nobody's going to buy my computer now. Now, the cloud is going to be the only client. Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is you want to create a cloud business, and you want to kill your computing business to be able to create your cloud business.
Yeah.
So to stay in the game, be ready to cannibalize your own business.
Which is a nice segue into management and management style and the cultural things that take place in an organization. You say that your number one role in your job is about talent and people rather than technology. Yes. Would you like to share more on that and inspire us with some of those elements?
I am very, very passionate about leadership and about people development. I think there is no leader that is not passionate about people development. If I want to leave a legacy, professional legacy, I say I want to provide value to leaders that can multiply that value to others. It's very important for leadership to be what I call adaptive leadership style.
I've put up the slide if you want to. I anticipated that.
If I can explain the curve for a second, organizations go through a startup phase, hypergrowth, maturity, death. That's the natural shape of any organization, any business. In Cisco, we have internally 1,000 of these curves. Every business is a curve. And every business at the maturity, before maturity, tries to reinvent and create their next curve. So you have curve after curve after curve, and that's how you keep going up. By innovating, by cannibalizing your own business to create your next curve. That's the idea. Now, nobody sends you an email and says, by the way, today you have reached maturity stage. That doesn't happen. You have to, as a leader, find this out. You have to recognize it, and you have to be brave and bold enough to say, I'm going to start the switch. Now, going back to leadership, depending on which stage you're in the curve, your business, your leadership style has to change, has to be adaptive to that stage. If you are in the early startup phase, you want to be an entrepreneur. You want to be all gung-ho about every great idea, push hard. There are no job descriptions in the company. Everybody does everything all the time. When you are in the hyper-growth phase, you want to be the exact opposite. You want to be the controller of the company. You want to pull the brakes. You want to stop the company from going bankrupt by making too much commitment, taking too many orders you can't fulfill, and going to jail. You want to be the guy that stops that. In maturity, now you're turning, you're nearing death, you want to be the developer. The guy that will encourage good ideas to come out of the company to get to create the new curve. Developer in people, developer in talent, developer in ideas that will fuel that curve. Notice something, it's always contrary to what you're supposed to do. The entrepreneurs are worried about cash flow and they keep on saving money. That's not the culture you want to be in as a leader. Hyper growth, you find lots of leaders stand up and beat their chest. That's not what you want to be, to the opposite. Why? Because that's easy. Anybody can lead a company with a growth like this. You don't need a good leader for that.
Yeah. It's amazing. I think that's an amazing analysis of adaptive leadership. Thank you very much for that, because we've all grown up with these sigmoid curves, one after the other, and adaptive leadership within this context, coming from somebody who manages smart cities and Internet of Things. In terms of technology, one or two more things in technology, and then we'll start opening some questions to the audience. What is the next big thing that you're looking for or expecting to happen as an innovation in IoT or in smart cities, which will fundamentally help you change to make people happier?
So that will not be aligned with Cisco.
Okay, which is fine.
My opinion is my opinion.
Absolutely.
I am honestly not sure about this self-driven vehicles, and I am not sure where this is going to take us.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. I don't know if this is going to be the future, or is this going to be something completely dumb? I don't know.
Okay.
But I think if it happens, our lives, which means successfully,
yes,
our lives will be significantly different.
Your children will never drive a car, for example. They'll say, why do I need to drive a car? They'll never own a car. They'll say, why do I need to own a car? Yeah. So our whole behaviors change, and their auto loan business at Amr Salem Part-3 is going to disappear. So that's going to be another discussion.
So we invest in lots of things and we invest in lots of ideas, creating platforms for this and platforms for that. I think this is so disruptive. And it's not electric vehicles, but
Yeah,
I think
that's-
electric vehicles are just other vehicles
Yeah.
because you don't consume it at the pump, you consume it at the source. It's
Sure.
the same thing.
Yeah.
At least that's how I understand it. But self-driven vehicles or driverless vehicles can change the way we live every day significantly, can change public transport.
What about 3D printing? And how did you see that integrating into what you're doing and how that will change our lives?
I think eventually, probably in our lifetime, the next phone you buy, they're going to email it to you.
Email the phone, but it's true. Because 3D printing, you can print your own medicine, you can print your own food.
So you buy the phone, they'll email you a file, you just print it, and you got it. I think this is going to happen.
Can you visualize it? You can, okay, well, I have difficulty sometimes visualizing that. You see, I'll share a story with you. It's like trying, and I've tried many times. I have bless her, an 80-year-old mother who lives with me, and I'm trying to explain a fax machine to her. And she says, so you put it here, and it comes out there? It's the same kind of thing for me when it comes to 3D printing. So you receive this thing, and you get a computer on this thing. How do you mentally bridge that?
You want me to explain 3D printing?
Please do. I would love for me to. But do you guys want to hear 3D printing from the expert? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I've got the audience with me.
I don't know anything about 3D printing, but I know enough to just get my way around. So